Morning. So I'm Molly Starback. I'm the director of the Office of Postdoctoral Services. And also in the Office of Postdoctoral Services is Mark Matheson, our staff assistant. My office is in North Building on Research Drive. The best way to get in touch with me is generally by email, molly.starback@duke.edu. And I'm the only Starback at Duke. I'm the one who sends all the messages to the postdoc list. So that's how to find me.
Okay.
And I'll start with an overview of postdocs at Duke. So there are approximately 600 postdocs at Duke. And I say approximate because postdocs are hired and leave Duke all the time. They don't come in as a cohort like students do, like the class of 2025. So postdocs are about evenly divided between the School of Medicine and between campus. And campus departments include the Pratt School of Engineering, Nicholas School of the Environment, Sanford School of Public Policy, and then there are about 55 in the social sciences and humanities. And the majority of our postdocs are postdoctoral associates, and around 50 are postdoctoral scholars. And I'll explain that distinction in a moment. And please note that postdocs are employees. So you are eligible for employee benefits like employee health insurance, family leave. But postdocs are also trainees, and they are defined as trainees by the major funding agencies, NIH and NSF. And what this means is that postdocs are allowed and encouraged to attend professional development workshops, conferences, and trainings, because the postdoctoral training period is meant to be your training for the next step in your career. So whether that be a traditional tenure track academic position or a career beyond academia, e.g. an industry position. So my office provides individual career counseling. So just email me to set up an appointment at any time. And if you are thinking about a typical or a traditional tenure track academic career, that can include CV, cover letter, research, teaching, and diversity statement critiques. If you're planning an industry career, that could be resume to CV. We do mock interviews for both. And we have a host of professional development workshops, which I will explain more about in a minute. And I can also provide policy information and referrals. So for example, to university offices like the Ombuds office, or staff and labor relations, or if you have questions about payroll or about your benefits. Typically, the best place to get these answered is in your department, because postdocs are hired by the department. So the postdoc or the departmental HR manager or business manager. But if they don't know the answer, please ask me and I will help you figure it out. So policies and forms. The postdoc policy is here at this link, so on the postdoc website. And I encourage you to read over the postdoc policy and the FAQ because they outline postdoctoral benefits. So, you know, what benefits you're eligible for, which are employee benefits, vacation leave, sick leave, family leave, and the associated FAQ, which goes into even more detail. And what I recommend is just doing a keyword search if you're looking for one specific thing. So for example, parental leave. And this page also contains the evaluation form, or IDP. And the IDP is mandatory, or the evaluation is mandatory for all Duke employees. And I'll talk about that more in a moment. Good morning, how are you? We are just getting started. And we've got one other person joining. All right, so I will continue. Thanks for joining us. So we were just talking about the postdoc policy, which governs postdoctoral appointments, and also the evaluation form, or IDP, which is mandatory for Duke postdoctoral appointees. Good morning, Janina. So official postdoc categories at Duke. And I see somebody's posting something in the chat. Oh, good morning, yes. So there are two official job categories: postdoctoral associate, that is what most postdocs are. You are probably all postdoctoral associates. And these are our employee postdocs. And the majority of Duke postdocs fall into this category. A second category is postdoc scholar. So these are NIH, NRSA, F32, and T32 training grant fellowship recipients only. And if you're in the School of Medicine, you may have heard your faculty mentor talking about the NRSA, F32, or T32. So because of some complicated regulations between NIH and IRS, these postdocs cannot be considered employees at Duke or at other research institutions. So if you are thinking about applying for an F-32, or if you are asked to apply for a slot on a T-32 training grant, please look over the postdoc policy and FAQ first, and please set up a meeting with me to ask questions, because there are some hoops to jump through. So there are only about 50 Duke postdoctoral scholars. Most are in the School of Medicine. However, there are a few in campus departments like Psych and Neuro, for example. And our final category is postdoc scholar paid direct. As the name indicates, these postdocs receive funds that are paid directly to them. So some NSF fellowships are paid this way, and some home country funding, like the Canadian NSERC program. And here again, these cannot be considered employees because none of their pay routes through Duke. But we have figured out a workaround for things like health insurance. This is outlined in the postdoc policy and FAQ. And again, if you have any questions about this, please ask me. That's what I'm here for, to answer questions about things like this. So, as I mentioned, all postdocs at Duke, or all employees at Duke, must have a yearly evaluation, including me. For postdocs, the recommendation is that it be modeled on the Individual Development Plan, or IDP. So the IDP is strongly encouraged, not just by Duke, but by the major funding agencies, NIH and NSF. So you may even have started one of these as a graduate student, for example, because they've been gaining steam over the years. So there's a whole page on developing the Individual Development Plan under the resources section of the Duke Postdoc website. And there are even online tools you can use to plan it. So for example, if you're in the sciences, that's called My IDP. There's a link. If you're in the social sciences or humanities, there is Imagine PhD. So, and guess what? We have a workshop coming up on developing your IDP. This will be held on Thursday, February 9th, and we will go through how to set the whole thing up, how to talk to your mentor about your IDP, and how to establish expectations with your faculty mentor. And our wonderful speaker is Dara Wilson Grant. She is a great speaker. I strongly encourage you to sign up for this. And if you are on the postdoc website, you will be, or you already have received notices about it, and you'll be getting more, or you can sign up from the orientation page as well. So communication with postdocs. If you are in a postdoc position, then I've probably already added you to the postdoc mailing lists. That's where you get all the emails from me, Molly Starback. So there are over 1,000 subscribers. So as I just mentioned earlier, we only have about 650 postdocs. So there are more than postdocs on the list. There are graduate students, faculty, and staff. And as you know, we send emails about upcoming professional and social events, policy updates, and the ever popular job listings. And if somehow you're not subscribed, or if you have friends who want to subscribe, there's a box on the Postdoc Services homepage, and that explains how to join the list. Also, the Duke University Postdoctoral Association. Some people asked, how do I get involved? How do I socialize beyond my department? And the answer is the Duke Postdoc Association, or DUPA. They meet the first Wednesday of every month, both in person and virtual, or virtually nowadays, so hybrid meetings. This is their website. They also have a Slack channel, and they have a bunch of great social events. So they just recently held a winter solstice potluck. And they also have picnics and pub nights and family-friendly events like trips to the Duke Leamer Center. So highly encourage you to get involved with DUPA. And other social events we have in the fall, we have Postdoctoberfest. This is where we present awards to Duke's Outstanding Postdoc and Outstanding Postdoc Mentor. And in the spring, we have Spring Fling, so that will be coming up in May. And at both events, we have free food, free drinks, ice cream, t-shirts, live music, and a bouncy house for the kids. And this year, as you can see, we even had balloon animals, so it was a lot of fun. And as I mentioned, yeah, the balloon animals were cool. DUPA sponsors a bunch of events too. Like I said, socials, lunches, there's Wine Down Wednesday now, pub nights, picnics, and I think they're planning next a chapel climb. So that should be pretty cool. So if you are new to Duke and Durham, there are resources for you on the Postdoc Services homepage. covering housing, biking, banking, driver's license, schools, etc. And if you are international, about half of our postdocs are international. There are resources specifically for international postdocs, although actually they're kind of useful for everybody. Notice on both pages, the link to the Postdoc Buddy program. If you haven't signed up for that, I encourage you to do so. You will be paired with a more experienced postdoc who can answer your questions about life in Duke and Durham. And as new staff members, you should have already been or be about to be signed up for new staff orientation. So this is where they go over your Duke specific employee benefits. And this page, which is linked from the orientation website, or you can just Google Duke staff orientation and it will take you to this page, and it outlines everything you need to do as a new employee. And you can see when the upcoming sessions are. Your hiring manager or your payroll manager should register you for an upcoming orientation session. They are virtual, by the way. So, and if not, you can see where those are. The sign-up form is online, so you can see when the upcoming sessions are being held and sign yourself up. So international scholars have their own orientation through what was called up until very recently International House. It is now, it's been renamed just last year, the Duke International Student Center, but they also work with postdocs. So postdoctoral, they call them scholars. So the International Scholar Orientation, you can see down here, and you can register for that online. There's also an International Spouse and Partner Orientation. So Duke International Student Center is a wonderful resource. And they have a ton of great information online. And again, this is useful for everyone, not just internationals, but everything from, how do I get a card? How do I get around without a car? English as a second language, taxes, housing, shopping, restaurants, and so on. And this is a list, back to the Postdoc Services homepage, of benefits and services available to postdocs. So there is a ton of free or almost free services, offices that are available to you as Duke postdocs. So, everything from free admission to the National Museum of Art to free weekly jazz. So you name it, there is probably a free program at Duke that covers it. So I encourage you to check out some of these awesome things you can do for free. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of career development workshops. So as I noted, we have an upcoming one with the individual development plan with our speaker, Dara Wilson-Grant, who's pictured here. There's a whole series on the academic job search. There's a whole series on careers beyond academia. We have a mentoring and communication series this semester that will be featuring science communication specifically. We have an alum Zoom series. This is when we bring back postdocs, typically who work in industry, quote unquote, so careers beyond academia. And they tell us how they got their cool job and how they made the jump from being a Duke postdoc to working at company or organization X. So we also have workshops on CV to resume, interviewing, networking will be coming up this semester, also with Dara Wilson-Grant, and her very popular How to Win at Salary Negotiation workshop. And this is an events listing. If you've been on the postdoc list for a while, you know that I send out monthly lists of events and also shorter ones. So you can find all of this stuff on the postdoc website, and it's events not just at Duke. Although there are a lot of those, it's workshops all around the triangle, especially if you are interested in a career beyond academia, so quote unquote industry job. This is obviously a great place because we have RTP, and guess what? The NC Biotech Center has a ton of great events. If you're interested in an industry career, I encourage you to start attending those. And they will be having, I believe in May, there will be an event at NC Biotech Center just for postdocs and graduate students to meet with local industry representatives. So be on the lookout for that. Professional development resources, again, under the resources tab. So if you're starting to think about your next step, which I encourage you to do sooner rather than later, this is a great place to get started. So it includes skills identification and self-assessment and goes all the way through to academic careers, non-academic careers, lab management, negotiating, work-life balance, etc. And as I mentioned, we have a whole series on the academic job search with its own website, one on careers beyond academia. So this is for this semester. The mentoring and communication series. And this is our Postdoc Services YouTube channel. So this is where you can find a lot of recorded workshops so if you can't make an in-person or a Zoom session, we will probably record it and you can find a link here. And here's one of the big calendar listings that I send out that you may have already received one of. And this is a shorter this is the Social, Family, Arts, Diversity, and Wellness version of the calendar. And then the weekly job listing. So I think I just sent this out on Tuesday, so you probably received it. And finally, if you're interested in what your fellow postdocs do, you can find on the Duke website statistics. So you can look on demographics, you can look on time and postdoctoral training, and you can look at outcomes, so postdoc career outcomes. So first job after postdoc, 5 years after postdoc, 10 years after postdoc. And you can search that by organizational unit. So for example, School of Medicine, or you can search it by your department. And Duke Postdoc Orientation, again, we have some upcoming events. This is where you can find the roundup. So I encourage you to look at this to see our upcoming events or to sign up for Dara's workshop that I mentioned is coming up. Here's our homepage, information on subscribing to the mailing list down here.